I was down by the creek this morning and there's so many frogs there. I thought I would do a painting using that inspiration of the frogs and their croaking. You saw my little video, that's just at the end of my street. I just love it there. So let's make first of all a green, and let's take some ultramarine blue, and some yellow ochre. That looks like a nice swampy grey-green, doesn't it? Now you saw me spray, so now I'm going to just do some splattering on that area. Now that's going to run on its own, and a little bit down here. Make sure we're coming off the canvas at those areas so that you're actually going to the edge there and going to the edge here. A little bit more up here. We'll take a little bit more of that yellow ochre and do the same thing. Now my paper is just flat at the moment, just so that you know. I can see a little bit more up in this corner. And then I'm going to use this side of my brush just to disturb some of those lines. I'm going to take my script liner, this one, just a fine long bristles, and just making a stronger mix of those colours that I just used. Yellow ochre and ultramarine blue. I'm going to start to thinking about all the twigs, all the undergrowth down near the ponds. Nice free strokes. See how I'm holding my brush? I want to make a stronger green. I'm going to add a little bit of phthalo turquoise to that mix. A little bit more of that yellow ochre. Just touching in. My doggies are at it again. Shadow and Rosie. Seems every time I start to film, they know. That time of day when people are taking their doggies for walks. What I'm trying to achieve is just a messy sort of swamps side of the ponds, bracken mix, so that it's not too neat and tidy. Love the granulations up here. Okay, still with that same mix. I'm now thinking about the leaves. So we're just adding some leaves that you would see down in the bush. And just very messy, the bush isn't tidy. Okay, little bit of burnt sienna. Just adding little touches of that to the painting. Keeping it all very loose. Sodalite Genuine. Sodalite Genuine is one of my favourite colours because it is actually so granulating. A little bit of Glad wrap, plastic wrap. Just softening off some of those edges. And when you pick up the plastic wrap after putting it in the paint, it ends up with little bits on here, which actually can be retransferred to the work. I want to do a little bit more splattering, so I'm just going to use a round brush and using just some of those colours that we've already used, the ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, so it's just a matter of layering it until you're happy with where you are. This is just a background, there's more things to go on here, and I feel as though it's almost got a Japanese sort of influence. But now I'm just going to use a little bit of ink. So it's just a black, and it's a Winsor & Newton. I do have some in a jar, so I'll grab that because it's just easier to dip into. Just giving it a little swirl around. So this is one of my ink sticks that I made in another video, which you can watch if you want to know how to make them. But it's pretty much a stick that I've just picked up off the ground, and I've just sharpened with a blade on the end. Just want to make some lovely marks. As you see, the paper's still wet. Maybe a little bit of splattering there, just using the ink stick. Now I'm going to let that dry. So we're all dry. The ink continued to run a little bit whilst it was drying. Now I'm going to draw on a little frog and give you a more close-up view of me painting the frog. So I've just penciled in a little frog, and just using a mechanical pencil. I got my picture from Pixabay. There's lots of froggy pictures on there, so they're all copyright free. So hop onto Pixabay and find yourself a little frog to draw. I've just got some yellow ochre on my brush now, just my little 00 round, because it is quite a little frog. And I'm just going to pop some yellow ochre on it. The frogs around my house aren't green, they're quite brown. And they've got little dark marks on them, so I'll pop that in a moment. I don't know whether I told you what paper I'm using. I'm just using a Canson 300 GSM. Pretty perfect for what I'm doing at the moment. I love how the paint just slides over the surface of it. So there we are. I've pretty much just blocked him in. I'm going to pick up now a little bit of burnt umber. And start just to add some little darker parts to him. And some little spots. So it's all about observation. And and really looking at the detail but simplifying it at the same time too. Just tiny little marks. Now across his arms he's got some lovely little stripes. And it's quite dark on this back end. Now I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the Sodalite Genuine along with that burnt umber that I used earlier. Putting in the darker marks, just gradually building up. It's got a little dark area here. Very dark there, and as I said earlier, just under this leg here, it's quite dark. Just under those little toes. Now I'm going to use some ink now, so I'll just grab my ink pen and we'll play. This is a Micron pen, it's an 04 and it's archival, and it's for acid-free environments. So it's just a little fibre tipped pen, any brand would do, and let's start finishing off this frog. Isn't quite finished, but I just want to finish off some of this foliage. Just thinking about all the different little seed pods that are down near the water's edge. And I'm not really trying to replicate them, I'm just trying to get a feeling of that environment. So one nice little thing to do with a frog, and I'm just going to be using a white pen, and it's a Posca pen, and so you need Posca. Give it a good shake. Just adding the final highlights to our little brown frog. My dogs love hunting these poor little frogs in the garden. They come out at night time, and especially in the warmer weather or after it's been raining. See Shadow running around with one hanging out of his mouth. Fortunately, he doesn't kill them, but we have to rescue them and let them go, of course. Put them in another little place where they can be safe. I'm hoping my dogs will grow out of doing that. So I think this painting is done. I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this swampy bush scene in a very loose way, very experimental. I'm going to give you some close-ups, and I will just sign this work for you first. I'm really trying to grow my YouTube channel, and I hope that you will subscribe and hopefully leave me a comment. Let me know how you go if you have a go at painting it yourself. and just enjoy the process. Thanks for watching.